the hard work of actually reflecting and being honest about it. Did I think I knew something? Did I think that I knew it well enough to go into the exam, or was this just was it just too scatterbrained, or I wasn't dedicated enough to say, no, this I really need to know well. I mean, more and more I realize you need to know everything very well. You can't get by with a fluffy, warm, fuzzy feeling of being familiar. That's exams. But then you have the context.
You're right.
So there's no way around that.
Yeah.
But so how are you learning that?
But also what I found really helpful in having mentored numerous students is in those conversations to have someone who has done what you're aiming to achieve and can be like, this is actually what's required, albeit that we're different people, etc. But the level of proficiency that you have to show in an exam is still the same, regardless of who the person is, right? And I think I remember saying to one of my mentors once, being mentees, saying to them, well, this is what's required, and if you're not willing to do that, then you should deregister. And that sounds harsh, but I actually know what it takes because I've done it. And I think that accountability and having someone who has just one step in front of you from like an academic perspective or qualification perspective is actually really helpful, because they also can't negate that what you're saying is right because you've done it and you've done it well. And so I think that's helpful, because sometimes I see with students is that they actually just don't know. Like, they don't know when to start past papers, and they don't know how to approach past papers, and where should past papers sit in my studying? How should I go about studying? This is a completely different subject for me. And so it's also a very good way to give back. And so often I see people who have been mentored become mentors because they see the value add in that process.
You're very right about that. And, I should have mentioned that as a core element of advancing actuaries. So we do try and get people who have recently finished that exam or are deeply embedded with the exam or that content in that specialist area, and they're still close to that whole thing of being assessed. So those are very important points that you've raised with a mentor, but also just being in the specialist area often isn't enough, because there's so much more. As I said,
you say the implicit,
what is there? How are you coping with it, and so on? Is there something else that's going on? But something just came to mind now, and I think it also harks back to the fact that people are very successful in the workplace. They're doing well. The demands are great, however. They will always work more at work or for work than they will on themselves in getting through these exams.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the workplace setting is more forgiving when it comes to being exact with your knowledge, because you're working with it. It's pliable. It's plasticine. There are nuances. There are things that might, and you have time. Whereas an exam,
and also you managed, and there's input, and there's oversight.
Working with others.
Exactly. And it's not just you in this scenario within a time constraint, etc. It's not really reflective of how you're working on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly. But the exams are quite different, because the exams are rigorous.
Yeah.
And they are set in a confined, environment, and that assessment is very specific and so on. So you have to get yourself into that zone when you're studying. It's not
the same as work.
And it's a different stamina, a different energy to what is required at work.
Very much so.
People are exhausted from work, but they feel they have nothing left for their studies.
Yeah.
So that is something that must change before committing to do an exam when you're working at the same time.
My last question to you, and thank you so much for all the insights you've given, is what encouragement would you give to students attempting communications for actuaries? I think both the students attempting it for the first time, and for those who are getting slightly discouraged and have now attempted it a number of times, what would be your steer to them?
I think that for the one who's never done communications before, I think it would be useful for them to do a course. So either do the course with
so don't go in blind and just buy the active like notes or whatever and kind of figure it out yourself. Actually have someone.
They might be lucky to do that. That's fine, and good luck.
You can't lie to you.
No, it's fine. That can be fun.
It's possible.
It's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but why would you waste your time if you can do it properly? So I would say, because the experience that tells us that people struggle with this exam, that you should ask yourself why that is. And the top one is not taking it seriously, or not actually imagining those scenarios. And the textbook can't give you feedback. So the quiz gives you feedback, you see, which is really good. They do try very hard, that those active notes, they do try and give.
But you can only do so much, right? And I think what's good about the course, having been involved with you in the ASA offering, is that you constantly are sort of posed with new scenarios, and constantly asked to engage. And I think that is what tailors your mind to that exam preparedness.
Yes, exactly. And you start, it's like the dress rehearsals before the final.
There we go.
There we go. You need to do
the performing background coming in there.
But you really do need to rehearse.
Yeah, you do.
And you have to have that
impromptu
and that game plan.
Yeah.
And those that have been doing it all the time, I want you to just reflect on why you failed. And for as many times as you wrote, there might be different reasons.
Yes.
Because it came at a particular time in your life, or whatever the reason may be. But do ask yourself very honestly about those reasons. And don't let that... So what you're doing is you're managing your situation so that you won't have those reasons to stop you from passing.
Yeah.
And do not see... It's a misplacement if you are eroding your confidence because of those reasons. Because it's not the exam then. It's something else that stopped you. So, for example, if you're not proficient in Excel, because you will always need to calculate. So it's 10 to 1, you'll need to calculate. So get proficient there. And in Word and in PowerPoint and so on. And if you're not doing that, then really go and do that.
Yeah.
It's not the exam that's stopping you from passing.
Yeah.
It's these other skills. Your toolkit. So don't misplace that. Don't think, I can never do communication, because those skills will always be required of you.
Yeah.
So get those right. And the mechanics of structuring your answer, having a game plan when you get into that exam, doing the question you feel more comfortable with first, so you can get it out of the way and spend more time on the other question. And also to have you structure your answer very well.
Yeah.
Because you want at least to have a clear message.
Very much so. Very much as you would want in any form of communication, whether it was actuarial or otherwise.
Exactly.
So that's an important skill. But this has been such a lovely chat. Thank you for your time, Billy.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Pleasure indeed.
Honestly, a really, really insightful podcast. But to our listeners, thank you for listening. And we will see you on the next podcast. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review on your preferred streaming platform. If you'd like to interact with us more or add questions or topics to our pool of ideas, please follow our Instagram page at ASForActuary or email us on asforactuary@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Take care.